The grand hall of the celestial citadel thrummed with a tension so profound it felt like a living entity. Representatives from 100 star-faring species stood in rigid, silent rows, their eyes fixed upon the slender, silver-skinned figure seated atop the obsidian dais. She was the last princess of the oldest interstellar empire, a being of such refined biological and psychic perfection that her very presence imposed a hushed awe. For 3 galactic cycles she had conducted this ritual, and for 3 cycles the result had been the same. A line of suitors, the finest males their cultures could produce, would approach, offer their courtship displays, and be dismissed with a single silent telepathic pulse of negation. Today was the final day of the 4th selection. The air was thick with despair. Her name was unpronounceable to most, a cascade of soft light and mental impression. To the humans, newly admitted to the galactic concord and observing with keen, analytical eyes, she was simply the princess. Her reasons were known to all. Her species, the Alari, were empaths of profound depth. They did not mate for politics or power, but for resonance, a meeting of minds and souls so complete it formed a psychic bond for life. Without it, union was impossible. And she had found no one, in all the gathered glory of the galaxy, who did not project some hidden discord, ambition, arrogance, hidden cruelty, or simply a psychic signature that grated against her own. The last suitor of the day, a magnificent being from the warrior planet of Catharn, finished his display of morphing flesh and harmonic bone song. He stood proud, awaiting his fate. The princess closed her large, luminous eyes for a moment, then opened them. She did not shake her head. She did not speak. She simply let out a gentle sigh, and the suitor flinched as if struck, his pride crumbling as he sensed the profound nothingness of her rejection. He bowed stiffly and retreated. The hall erupted in worried murmurs. The Empire needed an heir. The line would end with her dot as the Chamberlain prepared to announce the conclusion of another failed selection. A movement caught the collective attention. From the human delegation, a figure stepped forward. He was not tall by the standards of many species there, nor physically imposing. He wore the simple, functional uniform of a human cultural liaison, a dark blue fabric with no adornment. His name was Leo. He had not been sent as a suitor. Humanity, deemed too young, too emotionally volatile, too loud psychically, had been advised not to participate. But Leo walked with a calm purpose to the base of the dais and gave a respectful, human-style bow from the waist. "Your Grace," he said, his voice clear and steady without artificial amplification. "My species was not formally included in this proceeding, but our documents of admission state we have the rights of all members. I wish to be considered." A wave of scandalized telepathic chatter and audible scoffing filled the hall. A human? A species that had barely mastered intrasystem travel when the Alari were building Dyson spheres. It was preposterous. The princess looked at him, her expression one of mild, weary curiosity. She sensed the usual human psychic profile immediately. A vibrant, chaotic swirl of thought, a dense forest of feeling rather than the ordered gardens of Alari minds. There was kindness there and a sharp intellect, but also sadness, humor, and a flickering undercurrent of something raw. It was not offensive, but it was not resonant. It was noise. She sent the gentle pulse of negation. "You are not compatible." Thank you. Leo did not flinch. He felt the rejection as a soft, firm pressure in his mind, a polite but absolute door closing. He had expected it. He straightened. "With respect, Your Grace, you have judged my mind static. But the tradition calls for a courtship display. I have not offered mine." The Chamberlain moved to intervene, but the princess raised a slender hand. A flicker of something not interest, but a desire for the ordeal to be conclusively overcrossed her face. She gave a barely perceptible nod. Leo did not produce light or song. He did not manipulate matter or display fearsome strength. He reached into a small pouch at his belt and retrieved a simple rectangular device, a historical data slate. He keyed a command, and holoprojectors in the hall, sensitive to his biosignature, activated. Images filled the air above him, not of human wars or great engineering feats, but of art. He showed the princess a time-lapse of a human child learning to walk. The tumbles, the tears, the determined clenching of small fists, and finally the first wobbling, triumphant steps into a parent's waiting arms. He showed her the Sistine Chapel ceiling, not as a static image, but in a slow pan that emphasized the sheer physical agony and artistic vision required to create it. He played a symphony, not just the music, but a visualization of the orchestra, the sweat on the conductor's brow, the collective breath of 50 musicians becoming one sound. Then he showed her the dark. Footage of humans digging through rubble after an earthquake, hands bleeding, calling out for strangers. The silent vigil of a solitaire at a tomb for a fallen comrade from an enemy nation, now a friend. A person on a bridge, talking quietly through the night to a desperate stranger on a phone line. Finally, he spoke again, his eyes holding hers. You seek resonance, your grace, a perfect harmony. My species rarely knows such peace. We are a cacophony. We are joy and grief, creation and destruction, selfishness and sacrifice, all at once. Our resonance is not a single pure note. It is a symphony played by a million different instruments, often out of tune, sometimes playing different songs entirely. Yet we choose, every day, to listen to each other. We choose to try and find harmony in the mess. We call it compassion. We call it love. It is not perfect. It is a choice. It is a struggle. It is our courtship display, not as we are in our best moment, but as we are in all moments. He fell silent. The hall was utterly still. The princess stared. Her empathic senses, which had for so long sought a perfect, placid mirror, were utterly overwhelmed. She did not feel a single psychic signature. She felt the torrent. She felt the searing pain of the child's knee, and the soaring joy of the first step is the same continuous thread. She felt the artist's backache fused with his divine vision. She felt the despair of the rescuer and his unwavering hope. It was not ordered. It was not quiet. It was a storm of contradictions held together by sheer, stubborn will. And in the center of it, in Leo, she sensed the core of that human paradox. A profound loneliness, a planet of billions, yet each mind an isolated island, and an equally profound refusal to accept that isolation. A willingness to reach out, again and again, despite the risk of rejection, of pain. For the first time in her life, the perfect, polished surface of her own psyche rippled. His display was not a performance for her. It was an invitation to see a different universe. It was not a claim of compatibility, but a question. The chaotic symphony of his being did not match her serene melody, but it asked, with terrifying honesty, if a melody could learn to yearn for a symphony. She stood. The assembly gasped. She descended the dais steps, her gown shimmering until she stood directly before him. Her telepathy, usually so controlled, reached out not to scan, but to touch the edges of that storm. She let herself feel the raw, unguarded truth of it, the effort it took for him to stand there, the vulnerability of showing not strength, but fragility. Her voice, when it came, was not the telepathic pulse of the palace, but a physical, whispered sound, heard by all in the deathly quiet. It is chaos. Yes, Leo whispered back. It is. Painful. Often. It is. Unbearably loud. It can be. She searched his face, her luminous eyes wide. The perfect princess, the empathic sovereign who had rejected a galaxy, found herself unmoored. The quiet she had cherished now felt like a vacuum. The harmony she sought felt sterile compared to this terrifying, vibrant mess of feeling. She did not find resonance. She found something else entirely in need, a yearning to understand a song she had never heard before. She trembled. The sight sent a shock through the celestial citadel. The impassive princess was trembling. Her silver skin flushed with a faint, opalescent hue. She tried to speak, to form another telepathic thought, but her own disciplines were shattered. The words that came out were halting, physical, and utterly unprecedented. I do not understand this. This symphony. Her voice gained a desperate edge. Show me, please, show me how the notes fit. Tell me how the melody can want to join the noise. It was not a command. It was not a dignified request. It was the fracture of a lifetime of conditioning. She, who had never asked for anything, was pleading. Leo, his own heart hammering against his ribs, saw not a princess in that moment, but a being as lonely as any human, adrift in a sea of quiet. He slowly, carefully, extended his hand, palm up, a universal and vulnerable gesture. It starts, he said, his voice thick with an emotion he could not name, with a single shared note. It starts with a choice. She looked at his hand, then into his eyes, seeing the storm and the calm at its center. The silence of the hall was absolute. Every protocol was broken. Every expectation shattered dot with a shuddering breath that was heard across worlds. The alien princess who had rejected all males reached out and let her fingers brush against the human's palm. The touch was electric, psychic, and physical, a discordant, beautiful, terrifying first chord, and she whispered, the word both a confession and a surrender, a plea and a beginning. Show me.